Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Greg Furman and this is the Forex Weekly Outlook for the week of July the 30th, 2018. Now, to get started this week, we're going to have a very busy week. We've got the non-farm payroll. We've also got the FOMC on Wednesday. So there'll be no shortage of volatility in this coming week. But I would say that based around the US GDP numbers on Friday, which were very good numbers, regardless of some people are saying the data was mixed. There was nothing mixed about that. Consumer spending is way up. Business investment is never been better with the tax cuts. So these are all positives for the US dollar going forward. We know that in most cases at the beginning of the month, the US dollar strengthens. And you can see that the VantagePoint software here, very stubborn to put out a sell signal on the dollar. And we've closed above the 94.43 area, now just barely at 94.46, but the reality here is that the neural index is turning back up. We don't have a lot of momentum. I don't anticipate any real momentum in the dollar starting until probably Tuesday. Now, what I've talked about a lot here in VantagePoint's live training room at the seminars in Tampa, and of course here on the YouTube channel, is the fact that in most weeks, the price on Monday does the exact opposite on Tuesday. So we would look for dollar weakness on Monday to actually confirm that the dollar is likely going higher. Now, we can assess that also by looking at gold. The number one correlation, the US dollar to gold. Gold has been under heavy selling pressure here. VantagePoint has done a phenomenal job calling this. The actual main sell signal came all the way back in April the 20th. We've had multiple retracements back to this key VantagePoint level. Key long-term pivot area 1247. We've come back and tested that area only to fail multiple times here at this particular area. Now, if it goes up to that critical VantagePoint T-cross long once or twice and fails, then maybe that's just an anomaly. But when it does it 30 or 40 times over a 6-month period, there's nothing to misinterpret here. So gold remains bearish, at least for now, despite the fact that we're still doing quite good on oil, but oil is struggling here also as we go into next week. Now, in last week's trade, I had talked about the dollar weakening, in that third week of the month would likely push equities higher. It pushed it considerably higher than even I thought it would. But once again, I will point out that the original buy signal here from VantagePoint came back on July the 6th. So I would respectfully submit that the equities are probably going to come under a little bit of selling pressure this week if the dollar extends higher. Now, this would be corrective in nature. We wouldn't look for the equity markets to turn around back to the upside until probably into that end of that first week of August. Okay, guys. So that's just going back and forth on these monthly cycles. That's what we usually see. Now, as we look at the euro currency going into next week's trade, we're still locked in a very tight channel, largely between 118.60 and the 115 level. I would anticipate that by midweek that the euro starts coming under further pressure as the dollar starts to strengthen. Now, that could go the other way if the ADP report comes in weak, if the Fed starts to get a little dovish. I don't think they will. I believe the unemployment numbers on Friday will still be good, and the softer unemployment numbers from the previous month were likely transitory, but we'll have to see. But for now, the key level 116.75, we're closing very bearish on the week at 116.52. But the euro, for the most part, again, had an up week on that dollar weakness. But as long as gold remains under pressure, the euro will have trouble making any significant gains. Now, the counterpart to the euro, we've got good heavy support sitting down here. That's coming in at or about the 99 level. Good area to start your longs there for this week. But I would anticipate this particular pair will advance next week on dollar strength. But again, we still need that economic data to support this. Now, the medium term crossing the long term predicted difference supported by the neural index is the early warning sign that this particular pair is likely going higher. Now we can see that also in the short-term crossover from VantagePoint, combining that with the neural index and the predicted medium-term, long-term cross. So everything looks pretty good. I would anticipate this particular pair to move higher. Now, with pound dollar still under pressure from Brexit, and we're just unable to break through this key VantagePoint long-term cross pivot area at 131.48, I would anticipate we'll push above that on Monday, only to likely reverse on Tuesday when real money comes back in. I don't think that real money by midweek, by Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, are going to be too interested in dollar shorts going into a potentially hawkish Fed and a stronger unemployment. Now we're supported by a very strong GDP number. And again, when we look at the GDP, the two things we really want to focus on is consumer spending and business direct business investment. Both are doing fantastic. So that is going to leave the Fed. It's very unlikely we're going to see a dovish Fed on Wednesday. Now, when we look at dollar yen here going into next week, we could be getting ready for a turnaround on this pair, also on some dollar strength. I would watch this area very, very closely down at or about the 110.59 area. Starting longs there. The VantagePoint indicators, I believe, will start to roll over by midweek, and I expect the 110 area to hold. Now, but again, we still need those equity markets to stay strong. But in my respectful opinion, as long as gold remains weak in the medium term, the yen is going to be weak also, guys. So keep that in mind, the direct intermarket correlation there. But the pivot area that we're looking at going back and retesting is 111.41. I would anticipate by Wednesday or Thursday of this coming week that we will retest this particular area. Now, as we move in towards our three main commodity currencies, US CAD, there is potentially some good opportunity coming up, believe it or not, on longs on this particular pair. We've based out at 130.24. I would anticipate a retest of this area on Monday, with a very strong possibility of a reversal higher. Now, if we break below 130, we stay below 130 on Monday and Tuesday, then fire at will, guys, on the shorts. But until then, if this area down, be very careful of a bear trap setting up down here. I've seen it far too many times here. If commodities turn, this one's going to turn with it. So again, be very careful and don't get caught short down here. The market is speaking to us here, guys. There is no buyers down at 130.24. We've got a double bottom there formed, but at the very minimum, I would anticipate a retest of 131.36, that key VantagePoint level. Now, long-term pivot area. Now we're closing 130.54. So the idea here, guys, two ways to play this. If we hold above 130 into the close on Monday, we want to start looking at potential longs here. But if we move up towards 131.36 and this area holds, then shorts would still be in play. My optimism on shorts here right now remains heavily guarded going into a very data intense week here on the US dollar. And if that GDP number was a little softer, then, you know, my opinion may be different, but it wasn't. They can spin this however they want. You're anti-Trump's people out there that no matter what he does, it's going to be bad. But the reality is here, it's working. Whatever is going on, it's working for now. So that is going to be a likely positive for the US dollar. Now, our two other main commodity currencies, Aussie US, New Zealand US, basically the same trade. I would anticipate both of these pairs coming under pressure this week. The key VantagePoint level, 74.03. We're closing below that at 73.94. We would look for potential shorts going into Tuesday trade. And essentially the same thing here with New Zealand US. New Zealand a little weaker of the two of these two Asian type block currencies, but when we look at this right now, 67.98, we're closing 67.79. We want to see how we begin the week here, but right now the commodity currencies are likely going to come under pressure with dollar strength. So with that said, this is the Forex Weekly Outlook for the week of July the 30th, 2018.